Beruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Our Mishnah taught us in regards to setting up a strainer on Yom Tif. So there's a machlokes. Rabbi Eliezer says one can do so because, after all, not only is oichel nefesh permissible on Yom Tif, but even machshirei oichel nefesh. And therefore, since it's for the preparation of food, it's mutter. But according to the Chachamim, only actual preparation of the food itself, but not a kli to then prepare for the food, would be mutter. And therefore, machshirei oichel nefesh is osir. Ask the Gemara, iboiluhu tola mai. That which the Chacham said being toile a mishameres on Yantif is prohibited. Is it prohibited midi araisa or midi rabbanon? Omar Rav Yosef tola chayiv chatos. Rav Yosef says when a person sets up a strainer, he's going to chayiv chatos. Omar le Abaye. Abaye asks, Ela me'ata tola kuza besichta hachenami de mechayiv. If a person hangs a small kli on a peg on Yantif, will you also say he's chayiv chata? Certainly not. He's only going to be chayiv midirabonon, and therefore, so too over here. But in the case of the strainer, he's only going to be chayiv. He's only going to be poter aval aser midirabonon. Says the Gemara on Daf Kuf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph. Ela Omar Abaye. Abaye comes to explain midirabonon hu shelo yaseh kederech shehu oise bechol. The Rabbanan says, Abaye, they made it an Isser of Uvdin Dechol. Now, we had said before that here is a problem of an Oyhel Arai. And here the Gemara seems to change gears and say it's a problem of Uvdin Dechol. But that's what we said, that it's Doimet to an Oyhel Arai. Really, it's only Mitzas Doimet to an Oyhel Arai. Because even an Oyhel Arai requires that you're going to then have some sort of benefit from the oil down below. So in the classical case, a person, we said, has, let's say, 4 poles on the ground, and he spreads a canopy to get shade from the sun. But over here, there's no benefit underneath the oil. Here, he's setting up a cloth over a kli to then make a strainer. So there's no benefit for the contents underneath. And therefore, it's only doimim miktsas to an oil arai, to which the Rabbanan said ultimately it has a similarity to an uvdin dechol, and that's why it is prohibited. Says the Gemara, Mankit Abaye chumre masnayoso vetani. Abaye, he gathered together different teachings from the Braisos, and he categorized them together. And as follows, Hagoid V'hamishameres kilo v'kise galin lo yase v'im osa poter aval. He first gives a list that is poter aval osa midirabonon. The first item on the list is goid. A goid is a leather pouch that has a large type of opening. When a person is traveling and he wants that his milk or that his wine remain cool and does not get spoiled, so when he then sets tent, then he goes ahead and he takes the content that is in this leather flask, this leather pouch, and he sets it up onto 4 different pegs, letting it then hang in the air, whereby the air will then keep it cool and it won't get spoiled. Hamishamer is what we discussed in our Mishnah of making a strainer. Kilo is referring to a canopy. Here we're talking about a canopy that has, let's say, a tefach that is spread wide on the top. The kise galin, here we're talking about a chair that has to be assembled, and therefore there's a chashash, maybe a person will then make it too tight, so it'll be then considered to be boina kli. So here, these are all asr midirabonon lo yaseh. He should not do so lechatchila. V'im ya asa, if he does do, poter aval asr. The second category is what's asr midiraisa. Oihel keva lo yaseh. He should not do on Yantif or on Shabbos. V'im asa chayiv chatos. If he does make an oil keva, so then it's a tod of meleches boine and he's chayiv chatos. The third category, which is muter lechatchila, aval mita v'kisei traskal ve'asla muter lintoison lechatchila. The last category includes a mita, a bed, which is a bed that is made to then put together and folded together and taken apart, and a folding chair, which is again opening and closing. Ve'asla, and also a similar type of idea, but here is a folding chair, but it has a hole on the leather seat because it's a toilet. All of these are muter lintoisoi lichat chila. The Gemara now quotes the Mishve ein noisnin litluya b'Shabbos, and you cannot place the contents, in this case the wine, on the tluya, meaning to say on that strainer that was even prepared before Shabbos. According to the Chachamim, one cannot pour wine on that strainer on Shabbos. Iboilu, the Gemara wants to know, according to the Chachamim, that it's prohibited to pour wine on the strainer that was prepared before Shabbos on Shabbos. Shimar mai, the straining, what it will be chayiv for? Is it going to be chayiv that's going to be over an isser deraisa or over an isser derabanan? Omar Rav Kahana said, Shimer chayiv chatas. By straining, one will be chayiv a korban chatas. It's a malacha deraisa. Maski lo Rav Sheishes. Rav Keisha asked if it's indeed a malacha deraisa. Miika midi derabanan mechayiv chatos. Rabbi Eliezer shoy lechatchila. If you're going to say that it's chayiv chatas according to the Chachamim, then Rabbi Eliezer, who's arguing on the Chachamim and say it's muter lechatchila, it'll be very wide machlokes. And therefore, it's very difficult to explain that the Chachamim would say it's a chiyuv d'araisa of korban chatos. Maski for Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef asked, Alam aloi, why not? Why can't we say that indeed it's a far wide machlokes? Harei ir shel zahav. We find in the 6th perek, in regards to a ornament, a golden ornament that has the picture, the tzir of Yerushalayim, there's a machlokes. The Rabbi Meir mechayiv chatos. Rabbi Eliezer shoy lechatchila. Rabbi Meir says that it's korban chatos. It's considered to be a masui. It's considered to be a load, and not considered to be something that a woman can take out on Shabbos, and therefore it would be a malach of hoitzah. Whereas Rabbi Eliezer says the other extreme. He said it's muter lechatchila. It's a tachshit. And therefore, as an ornament, a woman can, yes, go out with lichatchila on Shabbos. Maihi, what is the case? The Gemara explains, the Tanya, loy teitze isha be'ir shel zohav. A woman cannot go out with this ir shel zohav. V'im yatsa chayeves chatas divrei Rabbi Meir. Because if she does, she'll be then making a malach of hoitzah. And she'll be chayiv a korban chatos. According to Rabbi Meir, it's a malacha di'araisa, because again, it's a masui. According to the Chachamim, she cannot go out with it lechatchila, and if she does, she'll be poter aval aser. In other words, the Chachamim hold that indeed it is a tachshit. However, she's liable to take it off and show it to her friend and walk daled amos to Rishus Harabim. So the Chachamim made it aser midrabanan to go out with. Rabbi Eliezer says, Yoitze isha bir shel zov lechatchila. A woman can go out with this ir shel zov lechatchila. Why? Because not only is it a tachshit, but it's a tachshit that only a noble woman, a wealthy woman, will normally wear. And therefore, such a woman does not show her friend the tachshit. And therefore, there's no even isser dirabanan. She can go out with it lechatchila. Omale Abaye. So Abaye now says, Mi savris Rabbi Eliezer ad Rabbi Meir koi. The Omar chayeves chatos. Do you say that Rabbi Eliezer was going on arguing with Rabbi Meir, which Rabbi Meir said that it's chayev chatos, and Rabbi Eliezer says muter lechatchila? Then it would be a very wide machlokes. Ad Rabbanan koi. The Amrei poter v'aloser. Rabbi Eliezer was only arguing on the Chachamim who said it's poter v'aloser. On that, Rabbi Eliezer said it's muter lechatchila. V'amalu, and he said to them, Ihu muter lechatchila. Now, honestly, it's not clear to me why this is different, because indeed the machlokes that we brought in the Braisa is a 3-way machlokes, and included in that machlokes is Rabbi Meir, who says that it's a chiyuv chatos. And I see that I'm not alone. I'm in good company because Tosis also in Dibur Maschil says Misavris the Rabbi Eliezer Koya the Rabbi Meir v'chulei lo yada Rabbi my kemeshani. He doesn't know what exactly is this answer that Abaye was coming to then make over here to distinguish between our situation of the strainer and not making a wide machlokes and the wide machlokes that seems to be also in the case of the Irshel Zohov. Says the Gemara Vaita, Mishumai Masrinam Bey. In the case of then straining wine, what is going to be the hasra? In order to then obligate somebody, if he does something b'mezid, let's say he does a malach on Shabbos, one has to give him hasra, a warning for the malach he's about to do, and say this is malachas boine, for example, and it carries with it stoning, right? A malach is the Michayev going to carry with it a punishment of stoning, and therefore you cannot do this on Shabbos. It's also do it on Shabbos. If he says afal pikain and he goes ahead and is boina on Shabbos, so then they take him into Bezdin, the two edim, and then they stone him. So the Gemara is asking over here, what is the hasra that one gives for straining this wine? Rabba Omar mishum barer. Rabba says the warning that they give is that it's a malach of barer. Don't do this. You're going to sort. You're going to be then doing a malach of barer on Shabbos. Rabbi Zeira Oimer mishum marakeh. Rabbi Zeira argues and says, no, the malacha that they're warning about is marakeh, sifting. Omar Rabbi kavasi didi mistaber. That which I said that the warning is barer is mistaber. Why? Because ma darka shel barer noitel oichel meniacha psoiles. Just like the derech of barer is to then take the oichel and leave the psoiles. Afrochanami noitel oichel meniacha psoiles. So too over here, in the sifting over here, when pouring the wine on the strainer. So there also, he's taking the oichel, the wine that's going down, and he's leaving the psoiles. Now, in truth, we learned that normally that taking the oichel from the psoiles is not really derech breira. But you have to say over here that the kavanah is that here there is more psoiles, and therefore by taking the oichel, it's considered to be derech breira. So therefore, Rabbah maintains that the hasra that should be given over here in the strainer is a hasra rather of boirer. Omar Rabbi Zeira kavasi didi mistabro. He says, no, it's mistabro like me that the hasra should be maraked, sifting. Ma darka shel maraked psoiles milamala v'oicha milamata. Just like when one sifts, let's say he sifts flour, so the way is that the psoiles remains on top and the flour that's fine then goes to the bottom. So too over here, when we talk about straining, the psoiles remains above and the wine goes down below. The shmorim, the sediments remain on top, and the wine that is good, drinkable, that then goes to the bottom. Tani, says the Gemara Vaiter, Tani Rabbi Yechezkel, Rabbi Yechezkel taught the following: Talis kefula lo yase v'im asa poter aval asa. A talis kefula is literally a folded talis, but it's referring to a talis that's put over a canopy and is draped down on both ends. So he says one should not do that. We're talking about an oil arai, and if he does so, he's poter aval aser. Hayakaruch aleachut oy meshicha. However, if you were to tie a string or a rope to this canopy, then before Shabbos, of course, then muter lintoisel lechatchila. Then he can go ahead and then pour it over on Shabbos lechatchila. Many mefarshim say it has to be a tefach that is open before Shabbos. But al kopanim, if it has this string or this rope attached to it, then lechatchila one can go ahead and spread it over on Shabbos. Boy mine Rav Kahano meirav. He asked the following question: Kila mahu. What's the din of kila? Or marlei af mita asur. Even a mita is asur. Mita mahu. What is the din with mita? Or marlei kila asura. Kila is asur. Umita muteres. And muter is muter. Kila muteres. Kila umita mahu. What's the din with kila and mita? Or marlei kila asur mita muteres. So all of this is very confusing. What exactly was the response to these questions? Answers the Gemara of Lokasha to explain the statements. Hodeka Omar, that which he had said, Af mita asura, when he said even mita is asura, what did he mean to say? Kidekarmanoi, like those types of beds that require assembling. Those things, he said, are asur. In other words, midirabbanan, they're asur because maybe he'll make it tight, and therefore they asured it. Hodeka Omar le af kila muteres, and that which he said, even mita, making a bed is mutter. Sorry, even kila rather, a canopy is mutter lechatchila. Kiderami bar Yechezkel, Rabbi Yechezkel taught us before that when you have a string or a rope that is attached to it before Shabbos, then one could go ahead and spread that canopy on Shabbos. Kila asura umita muteres, that which he said a canopy, a kila is asur, and the mita is mutter, that's kididon. Kididon, and that's like us, meaning to say that the kila is asur. If it doesn't have, of course, we said the rope or the string, because that would be an oil arai, and the mita, which was pre-assembled before, that's going to be mutter lechatchila. Rav Yosef says chazina lehu lekuli de Rav Huna the meorta negido mitzafre chavita ramya. Rav Yosef testifies that it was seen that the canopies in the house of Rav Huna at night, meaning Friday night, that was open. So then it was spread out Friday night. It was nagidu. The next morning, Shabbos morning, they already threw it down, meaning they disassembled it. In other words, if it can disassemble it, then it's also mutter then lechatchila to assemble it. And presumably we're talking about where there's a string or a rope that was tied to the end.